There's a clean sound. I have a Telecaster and I'm playing in a Black Star amp, and I want to show you the Meatball clone, big CheeseSource clone and the Doppelganger clone. So where to start? I should start by saying goes in this order. This Farmer's Mill, which I'll also show. Meatball, it's going into the source, so overdrive first, out through the cheese, which is having these effects loop hooked up on the side, into the Doppelganger, and I have a Multiplex Echo pedal, which I also make, which is a reverb and delay. So, the Meatball, set for kind of a classic auto wah sound. You can obviously get all sorts of different filter tones out of it. By changing the pitch ranges. This is low pass and low band pass. You can get different levels of decay, so the filter trailing off. It's really high decay actually. It's how long it takes the filter to close. You can change the kind of colour or resonance of the filter and the intensity. So it can get pretty piercing, especially with some of these high colour and intensities and the high filter. Almost so you can't hear it. And obviously you can have the filter going down. And you just basically need to mess around with all of the controls to get it working how you want on your setup. Have a clean blend at the end. There's a loop, return and send for putting a distortion between the filter. And you can basically have loads of fun. These switches can click a bit normal. Good. So next up, the source cheese. So the source side's over here. You've got tone, drive and volume. There's loads of volume on tap here, and you've got a 4-position switch. This basically changes the amount of bass, increasing bass from 1, 2 and 3. And then this twank setting is a kind of like, used to be having the tone control switched off, but this is an addition to give you a kind of nice Rolling Stones kind of overdrive. So let's let the drive and tone about halfway, something like that. A cool kind of crunch. So that's the twank. And then these are the kind of different brown source settings. More bassy and fuller as you go up. It will go really loud. Yeah. Cheese side, you've obviously got again a 4-position selector. This is the tone position off. Then you've got way, which is the volume, again it'll go really loud. Curds is how much fuzz, and obviously a kind of Big Muff style tone control. So tone control is not active in this position, it's a little bit louder. Got a mid scoop. So you get quite a range of control. a lot of variety in the fuzz tone from the Kurds control. Get really saturated. That classic big cheese tone. Mid hump gives you a bit of a boost in the mid. And lastly, the famous gated Swiss cheese setting. So this gives you kind of Nintendo-y sound. And that crackles depending on how saturated the fuzz control is. And then you can cascade them into each other. So, got a kind of raunchy fuzz tone going on. Yeah. Now, Doppelganger. So first up, loads of switches. Now you'll have to trust me, so taking the knobs off the colour and blend the switch all the way up. Got the phase vibrato switch. I always like to leave the phase setting on because it's a bit deeper. Got a dual LFO switch, bypass. Bypass turns on the phase and you can see that represented in the status of the LEDs. So you've got a rate control over here which goes from slow to really, really, really fast. And you also have a switch over here. These switches control LFO1. We're in single LFO mode, so you can make it really slow by turning that one on. And it will go really, 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 really slow. And then we can kick in the second LFO, and you can see that LFO1 controls the low frequency phasing, LFO2 controls the high frequency phasing, and these are just depth controls. You see the brightness goes up the more depth you have. So this is where we get the classic kind of biphasey dual phaser sound. So I'm going to put on a little bit of delay and have a little play around with this. It's really cool. And you can put the square wave on LFO1. Pretty cool. Pretty unique sounds. Let's kick that off. Something I didn't show yet, so we put it back into normal single LFO phaser mode. This is basically modulating the high frequency and low frequency bands in phase, which is up here. If we do them out of phase, you can see the lights blink on and off separately. And you get slightly different sounds. Pretty cool. So there's the difference. And it's really useful in the dual LFO mode to have the LFOs going out of phase because it gives a bit more separation between the low frequency and high frequency. really, really nice phaser sounds out of this pedal. Cool. So, Farmer's Mill anyway, yeah, let's put that one on. This is a kind of cool stutter pedal really, and it does some really nice kind of sounds. Got some reverb and delay in there. Get a cool kind of slow sweep going on here. Take this down a bit. Kind of cool for edgy effects. And obviously it does pretty chaotic things with the filter over here, because you're obviously triggering it all the time. Pretty fun. So, we like that one. Pretty brutal sounds with a bit of overdrive after it. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. I like playing with this guy. So there we go. Lovetone Clones.